The region chairman of Region 6 held a press conference last Friday to address allegations made by the REO of Region 6 in a previous press conference. Shanice Beckles reports.
On Friday last, Regional Chairman of Region 6, Mr. David Armagon, called a press conference to comment on the issues that were raised by the Regional Executive Officer, Dr. Virasamy Ramaya, regarding tendering of projects, and the Regional Vice Chairman, Mr. Dennis DeRoop.
And we want to clear some of these misconceptions as a result of a press conference that was held by the REO, Dr. Ramaya, giving the impression as though it is the chairman, the vice chairman that are responsible for some of the things that are happening in the region. With me is the vice chairman, Mr. Dennis DeRoop, and the member of our tender board. And so the first thing we want to look at really is this whole question of payment for contractors. As I had said before to the press, the problem really is at the office of the REO. There are two problems here. One is that the minutes of the tender board is not being presented on time, and therefore if the minutes are not presented, then the people who are in charge of disbursing of checks at the South Treasury, they are not going to pay contractors unless the minutes of the tender board is completed and given to them. Now we have a situation here whereby tender board minutes have not been presented for the last 2 months, more or less. A month, more than a month, right? The tender board minutes. And so that is creating a big bottleneck. And so he didn't speak about that at the press conference. He tried to shift the blame to the vice chairman, who has the responsibility for signing on the contracts to ensure that the work is done to a standard.
The regional chairman described the regional executive officer as handicapped and not qualified for the job assigned to him. The vice chairman, who was also present at the meeting, came to his own defense against allegations made by the REO.
First of all, I'm very disappointed. I must say I'm very disappointed in this REO. I've never, with all the working experience I had, I experienced or work with someone like this, as Chairman said, very handicapped in many areas, not only accounting but simple management. He's very disabled in this area. He made some very serious allegations, and I want to address it directly. And one, he said that the vehicle assigned to me was using excessive fuel, which is not so. And then he mentioned specifically that the vehicle was used during the local government election campaign, which is very dishonest in saying that. Because if you ask, he was on leave just before the local government elections, and if you ask we have two DRU, Mr. Punai and Mr. Henry, they will tell you that the vehicle was down for more than 2 weeks.
Dr. Ramaya claimed that he stopped diesel from being given to Mr. DeRoop's vehicle since large sums of money were being spent toward diesel. The REO claimed that during the month of January and February, over $124,000 was spent on diesel by the vice chairman. Mr. DeRoop addressed this matter further.
Fuel is about average two tanks of fuel per week. That would probably give you about 8 or probably 9 tanks of fuel, which come up between 50 to 65, around that, sometimes in the 50s, sometimes in the 60s. But my vehicle is solely responsible to carry out the work, the Works Committee visits. We have projects from the East Bank of Berbice to Molson Creek, canals where we have to visit every month before payments are made, and also all the other works within the region. So my vehicle is solely the vehicle being used for the Works Committee visits. In addition to that, I'm the chairman apart from chairman of the Works Committee, I'm chairman of the Local Government Committee, which authorized me if we have problem in the various NDCs, it authorized me to go and visit from time to time and see how I could resolve issues.
Also present for the meeting was a member of the tender board speaking on the tendering of projects.
I think that the Procurement and Tender Board Administration Act has said that the evaluation of contracts shouldn't be more or less than, it should be given a reasonable time, but not more than 40 days.
Yeah.
This is the Act saying this, and many of the contracts or the tenders that we have opened has not been evaluated as yet. This is a serious problem whereby tenders for job, especially the capital works, we have awarded only a few. But because of what you have heard here, that the tender board minutes is not being completed because of various reasons. In fact, Chairman could tell you that I have raised this issue maybe months ago for the building and put the office in place for the tender board. But this seems to be not a priority of the REO.
Shanice Beckles reporting for Channel 8 News.